Hi, everyone. Welcome to DomainSherpa. Today is the second episode of Down the Rabbit Hole with Drew, Yoni, and me. We're recording the show on 420, so of course we talk a lot about cannabis. In fact, we bring Noel Abbott from ganjapreneur.com, the #1 blog in the cannabis industry, on the show to talk about things going on in the space. It's also Doge Day, so we talk a lot about Dogecoin, Bitcoin, and other crypto. All this is coming up right now on Down the Rabbit Hole here on DomainSherpa, where all roads lead to domains. So let's do it.
It don't matter what you say, there ain't no way that you messing with my team today. It don't matter what you do, I will not lose.
What's up, Sherpa Network? Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Jonathan Tenenbaum, aka JT, aka J On, and I am the host and producer of DomainSherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Today's episode is Down the Rabbit Hole, which is a new show that we're doing with my man Drew, my man Yoni, hosting this show to get into whatever we want to get into. As those of you who know, DomainSherpa focuses on domain names, digital assets, crypto, NFTs, all that good stuff typically, but we get into all sorts of other areas because all roads lead to domains and domains lead to everything. So, we've got a bunch of very different interests and stuff that we're into. And naturally, we like to bullshit about it. And this show gives us a platform to do that with two of my homies who are two of the most successful domain investors in the world, but also just two of the most successful people that I know, and two of my close friends and dudes that I just like to kick it with. So with that said, guys, welcome to the show. What is good?
It's all good, man.
Don't both of you jump in at the same
I
time.
I feel like we've just ratcheted up the exuberance a bit. It's like, I guess just more cowbell,
More cowbell. Ding, ding. That's what's up. So today is 420, right? So that is going to be the topic of today's show. So for those of you who don't know, I suggest you go Google that. Google 420. Actually, so we got a special treat too. So we've got ganjapreneur.com, which is the #1 blog for the cannabis industry, which is again Ganjapreneur, GANJAPRENEUR.com. And check it out. But we've got Noel Abbott, who runs Ganjapreneur, who's going to be joining us in a couple of minutes. So as a special treat for the audience to talk some smack. So it's going to be all good. But so it's 420. Today's the day, and it's also Doge Day. It's Doge Day, so we're gonna talk some Doge too. But so what's good? So Drew?
Did you call when I was younger? We used to say smoke the Doge. I mean, Doge was also like another slang word for weed. Is that how that became Doge Day?
That's good. I don't know, Yoni. Do you know what the deal is?
I've never even heard of that.
Doja. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Doja.
So I don't know where Doge Day comes from. Is it coincidental that it's 420?
I think maybe after Snoop Dogg got involved with Dogecoin, maybe they made 420 officially Doge Day.
But it makes sense. It makes sense for Doge to try to take over 420.
Yo, check it.
Can you imagine? I mean, Doge is taking over everything else. If Doge takes over 420, they take over. They're taking over everything. I saw an article today. I forgot it was was it Forbes? It might have been Bloomberg. Some idiot was writing. Was like, Doja. I love this Dogecoin. It's like, for as far as I can tell, it's exactly like Bitcoin, except with all the toxic narrative around it. And I'm just like, man, these people are so stupid. It's just crazy. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little jealous. I never bought any Dogecoin. Did you get some?
Too, yeah. No, I never got any.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I was all like, people were asking me about Dogecoin. I'm like, you got to be really stupid to buy some Dogecoin. I mean, there's no miners behind it. There's no security. Mm-hmm. It's basically like an abandoned protocol that was just a joke to begin with. It's got an unlimited supply.
Actually is the security issue, because there are no proper developers, and from what I understand, there are actual security, effectively
major security issues,
bugs that can interfere with the whole security of the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter in a way, just because nobody uses it for anything. So, but I don't know. I feel like, I mean, it's crazy because it's got like a $50 billion market cap now.
Dude, right now it's literally like the 5th biggest crypto, I think, according to so I was just it's $53 billion, right? And even if you look at this,
it briefly passed XRP yesterday, apparently.
Dude,
wow.
it's the world's 5th most valuable crypto. And at the moment, and I finally bought in on some Dogecoin. So like, I just did it because I'm like, I want to be able to post the memes. I want to post that dog that's all jacked, like walking down and be like, hell yeah, that's my shit too. You know what I mean? And so I think it's crazy. But I guess my question would be this, right? So now it's literally worth, I mean, $50 billion, right? That started as a joke. Summary on Coinbase says this shit isn't even for real. Like, it was started as a joke, you know? And but now that it's got so much velocity behind it, can it be pivoted, right? Is there a way to pivot that the thing can actually be used for payment processing, like some other can that happen? I guess.
So I heard a rumor that like they're like one of these, I think they're like a layer 2 solution and some other blockchain. They're like planning to like kind of not take it over, but like start providing resources behind it. And like, they're going to, I don't know, somehow, I don't know. But you know, like Snickers bar just did an advertising campaign like, yo, it's 420. Get your Snickers bars in a Doge or so. Like I don't even know how they brought together Snickers bars and Dogecoin, but somehow they did. Slim Jim did apparently like a massive ad campaign. Somehow, you know, merging together Slim Jim and Dogecoin because why not?
Dude. Well,
and I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. You know, it's kind of like you said, though. It's like, all right, you got a $50 billion market cap fucking shitcoin. And so either you've got $50 billion in completely wasted resources that'll go to zero, or maybe not to zero, but, you know, to whatever price, it'll definitely be lower than it is today. Or somehow it will migrate to like, oh, guess what? PayPal freaking accepts Dogecoin now. And it's like, all right, here we go, right? So I don't know. I don't even know what to think. It was like, it was a joke until it wasn't. It was like, now it's so big that I feel like somebody's going to feel like, you know, figure out how to like, you know, get in. No.
No, what is up,
What's
dude?
up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
What's up,
Happy
man?
420, brother.
Yeah, happy 420.
Welcome to
Started
Domain
celebrating?
Sherpa. All right. So for the audience, this is Noel Abbott. He runs ganjapreneur.com, which, as I mentioned, is the #1 blog in the cannabis industry. So here on 420, we thought it would be a special treat to bring him on here on Down the Rabbit Hole with us and kind of talk a little bit about, you know, the space and whatnot. We were actually just talking about Dogecoin. So we're, you know, and I'm now a Dogecoin holder, right? So I'm a big, long-time Dogecoin holder for about 48 hours now, and you know, so I bought.
That's like, it makes you an OG.
I bought in way high, but the one thing I'll say, just to close the point up, and then we'll move over to talk with Noel, is that the Dallas Mavericks are actually selling some of the merch from their team shop. In Doge. And they said, and Mark Cuban said he's never going to sell his Doge. He said, we'll accept it. We're never going to sell it. So it's like, giving away. Is it giving it away? Is it like, or is it just one of those moves that if you get enough people to say, hey, this is the joint, like we're going to use this, and, you know, and you get to a point that you can actually use Doge. I mean,
I feel like this is like what Bitcoin was trying to do, right? It was like, okay, let's get everybody off this other system and move them to like, you know, decentralized finance. And it was like, nah, move over. You know, it was like Dogecoin came along, was like, yo, Bitcoin, hold my beer. And like just fucking swept the world in like a couple of weeks.
But you know,
you got like the richest people in the world are literally pumping Dogecoin on Twitter. Like,
but it does have some real utility. I mean, you know, so it has two things that I don't know to what extent people assign value to it, but I think that's pretty much the most valuable part behind it. One is the branding. I mean, I don't know which coin has better branding. Maybe Bitcoin is the only one that beats it in branding, but just the fact that it's memeable, I mean, that's just, you effectively get free PR from random people just because it's funny. And then the other one is actually just the smaller denomination of each coin makes it a lot easier for people to understand that they can buy it. When somebody tells you, hey, Bitcoin is 55,000, you're like, well, okay, I can't afford it. Okay, but you can buy like 1,000th of a Bitcoin, but then it becomes just it's not palpable enough for the average person to understand that, yes, they can actually, buy like 1 millionth of a Bitcoin and so on. This just makes a lot more sense because, when people are talking about 39 cents, $1, even if it goes like to $10, I mean, at least you understand what the concept of $10 is.
Yeah. Well, and I think
I don't know. I understand what you're saying about like, it's why people were, stupid people were buying Bitcoin Cash instead of Bitcoin because they were like, oh, look, it's cheaper. Like I get the bias towards lower denominations and people are like, oh, yo, $55,000 Bitcoin. I missed the boat. Let me get on some 39-cent Dogecoin. Like I get that. I understand. But I'm not sure that your argument holds water in terms of like easier to understand. I don't know.
But this is just a very big hurdle.
I think it's just easier for the folks to grasp the idea of like, hey, there's still a lot of runway, right? At 55K, you're like, man, I can buy.
I think I just want to like use my Bitcoin and like only transact with people that understand the difference. Like, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, yo, that's super cool. You all in Dogecoin. Okay, yeah. Go to that line over there. Like, stay with your people.
Yo, but I'll tell you, the new shit is AMP. If you guys aren't hip to AMP yet, that's trading at like 50.
By the way, y'all, this is not financial advice in any way whatsoever.
This is not financial advice, but AMP is going to make you rich as fuck if you go and buy a lot of it. Because I bought some of that too. You know what I mean? So, but yes, this is not financial advice. In fact, with that, let's segue to talk about. We got Noel on the show. We can pivot back to crypto shit. But AMP, y'all, AMP it up. But Noel, what is up, dude? Happy 420, man. Why don't you give the audience a little bit? Let's explain. So talk to us about ganjapreneur.com. What's the mission? What do y'all do? Not to turn this into an interview, but let's just set let's set the table a little bit and we'll go from there.
Well, yeah, I imagine a few of the listeners and watchers are probably, vaguely familiar. I've been on a couple times in the past, but essentially Ganjapreneur is a project that I co-founded with Drew several years ago. And our mission is to educate people who want to be involved professionally or from an investment standpoint, or, just have a career in some aspect of the legal cannabis industry. We every day publish about 5 stories, picking the top news items from around the country and around the world related to policy, business developments, acquisitions, things like that. That goes out to our audience of about 40,000 newsletter subscribers and almost 200,000 social media followers at this point. And we've also got a podcast that's been running for a long time with our host, TG Brandfault, who's also one of our primary journalists. And we've just kind of been
writing about TG
what
in Michigan.
happens. Yeah, totally. He's in New York now, actually. But
okay.
Yeah, he moved.
Oh, so we don't have to pay that Michigan employment tax anymore?
Correct.
Bam.
Bonus.
Yeah, having a remote workforce has been interesting. Hiring people and they're in a new state. We got to get familiar with all the regulations around that.
No, I think we've got a great story that we should publish. And so I saw on Twitter. No, sorry, actually. So we own purpleurkel.com, one of the strains. Purple Urkel's a old strain of weed. And I've got purpleurkel.com, and it's one of those names. It's like I forgot about it, right? All of a sudden, yesterday, I saw it earn like $40-50 in parking. And I was like, whoa, where'd that come from? And so I'm like Googling, like, all right, what's going on with Purple Urkel? And then I discovered that Urkel himself, Steve Urkel, from what was that show?
Oh yeah, Family Matters, Jaleel White.
Yeah. He he partnered up with 710 Labs, the extraction company, and they came out with a line of Purple Urkel, and it's got his face on it, and it's dope. It's like really, really well done, like super well executed branding. But they don't have the purpleurkel.com. But anyways, I think it's a great story. I love it. I think it's one of my favorite celebrity cannabis stories ever. And then I saw like Snoop Dogg is all over it. He was in there with Steve Urkel smoking the Purple Urkel, and Steve Urkel's doing like he's got the air, what do you call those, Airstream? He's doing like a, you know, presidential sweep of the country in his Airstream, the Purple Urkel Airstream. And he's going around giving people. He's got cast iron pancake waffle pans. It's a cast iron. It makes a waffle that looks like Steve Urkel, and then you put the Purple Urkel infused maple syrup on your waffles, and I mean, he's got pre-rolls, he's got extracts, he's got the whole thing. I was kind of blown away. Anyways, we got to get his attention. I hit him up on Twitter today, and I was like, man, get at me. Let's go. I want to get involved here. You know, at least get you your domain, purpleurkel.com.
Well, and that's
Otherwise, I'll just keep earning that, you know, parking money.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, for folks who don't know, you know, Drew Media Options, we've got an incredible portfolio of cannabis domains, and because Drew's been on that for a long time. Yoni, with all of your domains, do you have a lot of cannabis domains? Like, is that?
I mean, I have a lot, but not really on purpose. It's probably through some sort of data mining that we ended up with those without me realizing they're actual cannabis domains.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's what's up. So. And then, so when you guys, Ganjapreneur, so where did that come from as far as like, why'd y'all pick that name?
That was
we picked it independent of each other, actually.
Yeah. It was a term that I think had kind of been I wouldn't say like fully popularized, but it had been used a couple of times in pop culture, mainly in like news stories talking about it. And it was a term that I think the industry, the very early stages of the industry, before it was even legalized recreationally in Colorado and Washington, people had been using that term vaguely. So yeah, my brother Graham Abbott and I put together a blog on a really bad domain like theganjapreneur.us, and Drew was working on a similar project on ganjapreneur.com, and just reached out to us.
Actually, at that time I don't know if I was ganjapreneur.com or theganjapreneur.com, and you were theganjapreneur.us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were like, why don't we just do this together? And then I think we upgraded to the ganjapreneur.com. I think I bought that from GoDaddy or somebody.
Yeah, well, so
but I might have that wrong.
I think you had it, but by the time we teamed up, but yeah, it was definitely helped to drop the.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. And then you know, so we've got a lot of the strain domains and all that good stuff, and bluedream.com and a whole bunch of, like, I mean, it's almost like you name it, we've got it. And
yeah, our latest project, which isn't directly a cannabis domain, but oregano.com we're using for cannabis humor, satire.
Yeah, kind of like the Onion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And so that's active and live right now, Oregano?
It's live. Yep. We've probably got about 130 articles up at this point. We really started to push the content last fall, and we were able to hire some of the writers who work for the Hard Times, which is a punk satire news outlet.
Okay.
And they've really blown up over the past few years. So we've got some really clever people contributing on a daily basis, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, Oregano on oregano.com, one of the articles, 420 offers perfect opportunity to both smoke a blunt and punch a Nazi. It's like, what? That's awesome. And
satire, baby.
Speaking of 420, man, I was trying to figure out, like, so I, you know, over the years, I've thought I've known what 420 meant, right? Like, and I think at one point I read in one of the, you know, we had some book that was like, you know, some kind of pop book or whatever that was talking about 420. It was a San Francisco police code of like drug use or someone smoking a bowl in progress kind of thing. And, you know, and I don't think that's the case. I tried Googling it earlier today to see what's up. And there's some other, if you go to the Wikipedia page, it's some other thing about this group of people, this five people, the Waldos, as they called themselves, would meet at this hangout spot and try to find this like abandoned cannabis crop. And they would always meet at 420. and then eventually got shortened to 420. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, you guys know anything else? Like,
I've heard a bunch of stories. I don't think that one is true, but I don't know. That's the first time I'm hearing it.
that's the first time I saw it. I was like, maybe they just
I've researched it at length.
And what did you? What?
High Times published that version of the story in the 90s, something like that. But yeah, I've heard many different sources as well.
So yeah.
So so Noel, what's good? What's going on today in 420? Are there any big events?
Oh man, there are a lot of really big events.
Yeah.
It's essentially within the cannabis industry, 420 becomes the day of the year that everybody kind of orients their entire marketing strategy around. So on the entrepreneur side of things, with our advertising partners, it's kind of been overwhelming. You know, all these people buying up all our inventory for this month. There are a bunch of different big, you know, like brand sponsored events featuring big name celebrity music artists. I know the Last Prisoner Project has an event featuring a bunch of people. Last Prisoner Project is a nonprofit organization that's devoted to getting nonviolent cannabis offenders out of prison who are currently locked up. And there's still about 40,000 of those, I think, in the US. So hopefully if there's some kind of federal action related to cannabis reform this year, that's going to be included, because that's one of the biggest problems with the you know, the prohibition of cannabis is just the injustice of locking everybody up for doing something that doesn't hurt anybody. And most of them, a lot of them, were just trying to alleviate whatever physical ailment cannabis happened to help them with.
Yeah, it's like one monkey's going to put another monkey in a box because he smoked a plant. That makes a lot of sense. Let's do that.
Yeah. Oh, you know, I saw some shit too. When you talk about the, you know, interestingly here in the state of Florida, John Morgan, the law firm. I don't know if you're familiar with dude at all. He's a pretty big, you know, medical marijuana proponent and helped get the laws changed here in Florida. And I just started following him on Twitter like yesterday or something. And he was telling some story, just cracking me up, because I was thinking about him and some of his efforts, and kind of in line with what you're talking about. He's driving in his car. He's like, man, I like to take a gummy at night, you know, and like, and I have this recurring dream where I'm flying on a pink dinosaur and everybody's watching me flying and they want me to come down because everybody wants to ride on the pink dinosaur with me. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I like this dude, man. He literally runs like one of the biggest law firms in the entire state.
I mean, he's a billionaire, isn't he?
He's gotten big. Yeah. I mean, they're big, huge personal injury firm. And then, you know, he segued into some of his effort around like, you know, not necessarily politics, but all, you know, decriminalization, legalization, you know, marijuana. I mean, he's part of the reason why medical marijuana is now legal in the state of Florida. And dinosaur, man. And he's like, and everybody wants to ride the pink dinosaur. It's like, you know, it's like, man, I don't know what we're talking about right now, but man, I feel you, John Morgan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm in. Give me that pink dinosaur.
It's just wild to me, man, just seeing the way, you know, everything has changed. And I think, you know, and, you know, obviously all these trends for the good, but, you know, you think about kind of, you know, people being put in prison for, like you said, smoking a plant, and it's crazy. And, you know, we've got to get off this disjointed every state, like, you know, because the fact that you still got people that are in jail, you know, breaking laws is one thing, right? But at the same time, it's like, you know, when you look and see the disproportionality of like, you know, prison based on nonviolent, like, you know, drugs and all. I mean, this is a whole different combo, and I don't want to get all super serious on 420, you know what I'm saying? But you know, it's just crazy shit, man. It's crazy.
It's important stuff. It's very important. I feel this is one of the things that I'm, you know, basically it's like plant more trees, let people who smoke pot out of jail.
Yeah.
That's it. Pretty much, I don't care about anything else.
And buy
like,
Dogecoin.
You know, I do, but I'm not, you know, there's nothing else that I'm going to vote with my wallet on.
Yeah, that's fair. Except for AMP and Dogecoin. Let's go. Run them up. Pump them up.
Well, I'm voting on AMP and Dogecoin with my wallet by simply not purchasing them.
Oh man. No, that's it. Right. We're all in. Anyway,
man.
Right, cool. So
I can't believe I brought a shit coiner in the house.
No, man. Hey, look, it's, you know, I'm all Bitcoin and ETH are my large, like, my investments into crypto. But, you know, if I, you know, a little bit of Dogecoin, I just want to be able to, little
Doge don't hurt. Little Doge don't hurt.
Little Doge,
especially on 420.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So, well, and that's the other thing. So this is Doge Day, and I was looking online to see if there was any tie-in between 420, from a cannabis standpoint, and Doge, and loosely maybe, but it seems kind of like just sort of that's just kind of how it played out.
It just happened out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Which is another reason.
That's another great story that we should publish on Ganjapreneur Noel. Is how did 420 become Dogecoin Day?
I have a feeling
How did that
it's people on the internet
Dogg?
smoke weed and they like memes, and I think that's probably the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the
This is
general
why I
goal
like
was-
Noel.
for-
Noel is like water. Noel's like water. Follow the path of least resistance.
Yeah. Wait, Yoni, what were you saying?
I think the whole point was for Dogecoin to reach 69 cents on 420.
Yeah.
And then that just kind of got out of control.
And that happened, and that was because it got to 42 cents before 420.
Well,
69.
what did you say? Yeah, 69. Like, in other words, they're just trying to combine different memes together, literally on this day.
Oh yeah, yeah. Anything that's like a number. So like 69 on 420.
Yeah, why
Doge,
not?
Doge to the moon. And then you got Elon Musk tweeting that shit, being like, yo. And then you got some, like you said, some of the richest, most influential people in the world hyping it up. And it's just like, how's it not gonna succeed, man? You know what I mean? That's why I'm a long-term investor in Dogecoin. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe in the underlying principles,
Look, I could care less about Dogecoin until Snoop got involved. Snoop is like, my hero. So like now that Snoop's involved, I'm a little upset I didn't get any Dogecoin.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
what about Elon Musk?
I love Elon, but he's not driving my investment decisions.
Snoop
Dogg, on the other hand.
Well, and you got SnoopDogg.com, right?
Well, we got the 1G. I got to protect it. You can't have any knockoffs. There's only one original dog.
Oh, it's good stuff, man. It is good stuff. So yeah, so that's what's up. So Noel, so you got some stuff cracking today. I know you got a hard stop here in about 2 minutes. So anything else before you got to jump? I mean, just anything exciting coming up for the on the site or anything that folks should know about?
We got a new YouTube series that we're starting up called The Fresh Cut, featuring one of our writers, Kara Whitstock. It's going to be a video interview, probably similar format to DomainSherpa. It's going to focus on people who are more boots on the ground in the industry. On our main podcast, we interview a lot of the investors, policy decision makers, and on this show, we're going to interview the people who are more hands-on the retail and production side of things. So a new episode's going to drop pretty soon. Our first episode features a woman named Nancy Southern, who was actually one of the bud tenders at the dispensary just down the street from our office before we started working at home last year. And she's in her 70s, and she would be working at the counter of the dispensary, the most helpful retail, consultant that you could ask for. And she joined the show to talk about what cannabis retailers can do to make their stores more welcoming. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's just youtube.com/Ganjapreneur for our channel. Other than that, if you're not on our newsletter, I recommend signing up if you want those updates on the industry. Yeah, basically what I'm about to go do, put together our headlines for today. I think the big story is probably that the Safe Banking Act just passed the House yesterday. So
boom, here we go.
Retailers, producers, everybody who touches the plant are hopefully going to be able to access banking finally. I also heard that Chuck Schumer said something on the Senate floor today to commemorate 420, which is kind of hilarious.
Yeah, that's really crazy.
Well, let's look at Chuck. Chuck is going home and burning an L.
Yeah,
there's a zero chance that Chuck Schumer isn't going home and burning an L.
So he's gonna ride the pink dinosaur, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Chuck Schumer might ride the pink dinosaur.
Oh shit. All right. Well, that's what's up, Noel, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on this the special 420.
For this year to get even weirder, we need Mitch McConnell to come out and say something about 420.
There we go.
Who knows, man? They just all need really that would actually
Mitch McConnell he needs to strut out with his melting face. Strut out on the floor with like a big blunt in his mouth, like, "What's up, y'all? 420."
Yo, I actually think that would help politics a whole ton if they all just burn together.
It would be
Everybody,
enormous. It'd be like
for sure.
like that one move. He might not have a job anymore, but like the whole world would suddenly engage in politics again.
yeah. Well, and just have them be somewhat more cooperative with each other. It's just so divisive and fucked up, man. It's like terrible. So,
Yeah.
everybody just needs
Yeah.
to burn and chill, man. That's what
You got a problem when like meme culture is better at driving decision making than like government officials.
Yeah, 100%, dude. I mean, that's actually like some real shit because, like you said,
Yeah,
they can't get
100%.
anything.
Like, they can't make anything happen, like nothing. And yet, you get a meme and people drop 50 billion on a shit coin.
Dogecoin.
I on some level, I feel like Elon might have like stoked this whole thing to like just raise like a ton of capital, like, I don't know, build a new country or like, finance Mars or something.
Hey, that's it.
Dogecoin is going to be like the official currency of Mars.
Yeah, that's it. Like it's the only thing. It's like those old American Express or whatever, where it was like, the Visa commercials are like, but they don't take American Express. It's like only Doge on Mars, where they don't take U.S. dollars.
Don't
not
bring
accepted.
your dirty dollars. We don't want your dirty dollars. We only take
U.S.
Doge.
dollars not accepted. Doge only.
But practically it won't work because there's too much time delay between being able to send message from Mars to Earth. So literally it's impossible as long as we're mining and have.
What's the latency? It can't be that much. I mean, if you can put a human there, like the speed of light's going to get you there pretty quick.
No, it's like 20 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Speed of light, 20 minutes to Mars? I don't believe
and
that.
most of the time it's going to be a lot more. That's the shortest one from what I understand. That's when Mars and Earth are really aligned.
Oh, yeah.
But otherwise, when Mars is on the other side of the sun, I mean, you have no chance.
Yeah.
When is 420 on Mars? There might be a link to Elon Musk's preference for cannabis. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, man. Well, thank you, Noel, man. We'll see you soon, bro. Be good. Happy 420,
Noel.
dude.
Take care.
Media Options is the industry's leading domain broker specializing in domain acquisitions, high-value domain sales, and domain name consultation. As pioneers and thought leaders on the subject of the domain aftermarket and domain name value, plus through their clear domain acquisition service, Media Options offers startups and established corporations an unparalleled scope of high-value domain options, providing access to domain names and curation technologies not available elsewhere. Media Options believes in the power of a great domain name and is dedicated to helping you obtain yours. Call or email today to put a domain to work for you.
All right. So that's what's up. That's also the first time we had a jump in, jump out interview here on DomainSherpa. That's what's up.
Let me know when you got Snoop Dogg on hold so we can just pull him in.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Well, that'll be next year. Next year, 420 is going to be a full-on event. We're going to do it. It's gonna be like a festival.
We should have planned that a little better, but we just had a lot going on.
No, hey, it's all good, man. But
wait, did Snoop Dogg change he's changed his name, right? It's Snoop Lion now or something.
He changed it to Snoop. No. He changed it to Snoop Lion for a minute, and he went all like reggae. He went to Jamaica, recorded a reggae album. It wasn't bad. There was like 2 good joints on there. And then that wasn't his thing. And so then he went back to Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. So now he needs to change it to Snoop Dodge. That would be probably the most epic move.
SnoopDoge.com available? Because if not, we should like that.
I can promise you somebody's got Snoop Doge.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, probably Yoni.
No.
So some shit, man. Well, what I think is
Snoop Doge creating through Dogecoin, creating change. Okay, it says fuck Bitcoin. Just give me the Doge. Creating change through Dogecoin.
Yo. Oh, look at that shit. It's a super cool picture of like a Snoop Dogg with a Dogecoin necklace. See, man. I think you make a good point, Yoni. I mean, Bitcoin obviously is memed out, but Doge is like the only one that can really mess with Bitcoin at that level. Some people try to do Ripple and some of that other shit, but like at the end of the day, Doge, you could argue from a meme standpoint, is even like it's just got more going
Well,
on.
because I mean that's really what got Bitcoin to where it's at. It's literally just the meme army, because it's not really even about. I mean, the tech
Yes,
is not
yes.
that interesting in a way.
However, would not have kept the momentum if it didn't have the underlying fundamentals, such as
Yeah.
the world's most secure network on the planet, like the world's most decentralized network on the planet, the world's most valuable network on the planet. Like,
Yeah.
if it didn't have the underlying fundamentals of being like an, absolute limited scarcity, secure network,
Well, but at
we
the same
wouldn't get.
time, you're effectively assigning values to those based on your own personal biases. So in other words, there's an aggregation of all these different things that Bitcoin has. And if you can decide, let's say there is maybe 50 different positives, you assign value to each one. Perhaps the fact that it's memeable is maybe 80% of the value, so that's what happens, with Doge, like how it can actually get there, because we know it's an aggregation of all these values, but we don't actually know how much each specific value contributes. So perhaps the branding and the network effect of the memes is perhaps the biggest value. And if it's 80% of the value, then it's obviously weird when you have nothing to back it up, when at the same time you're willing to put money into it. It's tough, but at the same time, it's way easier to make something like Snoop Doge rather than Snoop Bitcoin. It's lame.
Yeah. Yeah,
then
no. I mean,
Doge
Snoop
has actually
Bitcoin would
made
fall flat on its
Bitcoin-
face, right? He's like, but Snoop Doge is just, it's got legs.
Snoop Doge.
It's got legs.
Doge, Snoop Doge. But that's the shit, man. And that's kind of what I'm saying. It's funny. It's like we talk about domains, how domains have gotten not stale, but crypto and some of these NFTs and stuff like that have made domains feel kind of like old hat type stuff, right? And in some ways, I think you've got where Dogecoin and some of these, has almost made Bitcoin seem like kind of like the old, the old guard, kind of boring money at this point. You know what I mean? And,
but again, I think the denomination is a huge aspect that Doge actually has over Bitcoin. And the reason is that because there is a whole problematic marketing that Bitcoin is having, because right now, especially once Bitcoin goes beyond 100,000, this is why people are talking about stacking sats rather than stacking Bitcoins.
True.
Because it's just too confusing. You can't just be like, hey, I sent you 0.0005 Bitcoins. Did you get it? You can't. You can be like, I sent you one Doge. Okay, that's easy, Yeah. So I think if Bitcoin, maybe they'll change it. Maybe they'll change in the future. The 21 million limit is going to become, 21 trillion, and then the whole thing is going to again become more palpable. But until that point, or if they change it and instead of Satoshis, it becomes bits, which are, maybe bigger units or smaller units. There's just some sort of problem in that way that you pass on that information to other people that are not in the business.
Yeah.
Whereas something like Doge, it's also easy because people can be like, oh, Dogecoin is 10 cents. So some dude can just be like, okay, I'll buy $100 worth.
I'm with you, man. I think, and I think it also gives people the, sort of the interpretation that there's room for it to run, right? Where
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Well, it's for Bitcoin.
No, the whole thing is an illusion, obviously.
20%, it has to go up by 10 grand, right? Or 11 grand. For Dogecoin at 42 cents to move by 20%, it has to go up 8 cents. Like 42 cents to 50 cents, that's a 20% gain.
Yeah.
Right?
And that seems a lot less intimidating than a movement of 10 grand, even though people are.
If moving 10 grand is
well,
a lot
it also
more likely,
requires
right?
a lot less capital. It also requires significantly less capital.
But even if you dig into the fundamentals and it's like, hey, for Bitcoin to go up another 10 grand is a lot more likely than Dogecoin to go up 8 cents. It's still like for the regular, we say the George Carlin thing all the time, right? You think about the average person and think that half the people in the world are dumber than that, right? You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, that's why biases and heuristics and things like that, like really have such an effect on people, because, you know, it's hard just for, you know, intelligent people to get over some of those kinds of things. But anyway, not to make this about that, but more.
No, I think stupid people have an advantage in Dogecoin.
Yeah, because they just are all in. They don't care. We're all in, man.
Well, yeah. I think it's one of the. It's almost like that meme with the IQ graph, where the most intelligent and the dumbest ones are in alignment about the same thing, whereas the ones in the middle, they don't get it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what it is. It's almost like, you know, like having come full circle or something on it, you know? And so, yeah, man, I don't know. We'll see what's up. But, you know, Snoop Doge, you know, it's just some funny shit, man. And what's crazy is, like, you know, the dude who created the shit back in 2013, I mean, this isn't like it happened yesterday. I mean, this was 8 years ago. And they were just like, yeah, we're just going to they basically like copied and pasted the code for Litecoin or something, right? And we're basically like,
yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
You know, and they were like, hey, Doge. But
yeah,
it's some shit. But
so, and there's no, but yeah, I mean, I feel like we did this whole episode about Dogecoin.
Doge Day, man. All right, we can talk 420.
Doge Day.
We'll get more into, you know, we can talk more on the cannabis tip.
I'm not sure how I feel about Dogecoin hijacking my 420. I mean, 420 is kind of that's the holy day for me. Like, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. Don't come over here and hijack my 420.
They co-opt 420. You know what I think is also a trip? I was talking about this earlier, you know, for the way that
send your Doge dog to the meat factory.
You know, like, it's gonna be Drew versus Doge, you know what I mean? And you're gonna turn it into, like, you're gonna have this thing now where you're gonna be like so you're not gonna be indifferent any longer. You're gonna be actually anti Dogecoin, and just
yeah,
Doge
I'm
hater.
sour, man. I missed it. I'm gonna be sour now. I'm gonna be like the Peter Schiff of Dogecoin.
Well, you know, even your boy Dave Portnoy, you know what I'm saying? He missed the boat on Bitcoin, and now he's trying to get in, and he's wearing the dog shirt today for Doge.
You know what? Didn't he? He actually got in pretty early.
No, he got in, then got out.
Yeah, and then that's why they were saying he's got paper hands. You know what I mean? You see,
well, because he got in, and he's like, oh no, I didn't make any money. He sold it like a week later. So it's like, well,
yeah.
And that was like back when it was like 20 coin or something, you know what I mean? And you know, like, then it ran up and he just washed out. So you see him on some of his stuff, he's like talking about parabolic guy and everything else. He's like, these guys are rich, and I'm on the sidelines watching this shit. But you know, hey man, you know. So all right, well, what do we think about cannabis stocks? So let's talk about that, Drew. So 420, you know, Canopy. Who else is like, what's good? Is there anything?
I got out of my Canopy a while ago. I mean, I don't know. I'll tell you what, I've lost more money in cannabis stocks than anything else I've ever invested in my entire life. I was like literally one of the earliest investors in cannabis, period. Like angel investments, public investments. Like, I don't know. I don't think I've made any money in cannabis. Like, I think I've lost money in, you know, everywhere I've invested in cannabis. I think I lost money. This last run in the last like 6 months, I actually did make some money. I took profits on almost all of it. The only thing I'm carrying now is like, I got the YOLO ETF, a little bit of that. I don't love that though, because they're not even investing into companies that touch the plant. So it's all like ancillary businesses, which they don't really, you know. So, but I got a little bit of that just cause. And then my sort of like long shot favorite personally, and once again, this is not investment advice. Do not take advice from me. I am a domain monger. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but I do like to smoke the Doge. So Slang, there's this company called Slang Worldwide. And I think they made a really good play that I think our audience will understand because of, you know, it's all about intellectual property, which what I said early on in the cannabis game, I was just too early. And but these guys went out and they bought up all the like really known consumer brands. They went out, they licensed a lot of the like celebrity brands. And so they're pretty much an IP licensing company at this point. They just bought up all the IP, and they bought a few operating companies. And, you know, but they've got the global IP for all these like celebrity brands, for all these like, they made a deal with one of the big, you know, celebrity agencies to, you know, basically have first option on anybody that wants to launch a cannabis brand, you know, comes through them. They missed my boy Steve Urkel. And but anyway, so slang, I like that one just because, you know, it's like something irreplaceable. Like they're not competing on, you know, can you grow it for, you know, $2 a gram versus $4 a gram? You know, it's a lot of variables that go into that. A lot of the variables can't be controlled. So I like this because, you know, it's like you walk into a dispensary and you're like, oh, I'm going to buy this, you know, whatever. They're like, they own Firefly vapes, right? They own, I don't know, a lot of the brands that people actually know in an otherwise sort of nascent industry. But I do think, you know, I think we talked about the other day, like third wave wins in pretty much every investment. And, you know, just look at Bitcoin, like third wave was the wave you wanted to get in on. I mean, it was obviously you did really well if you bought it 10 cents, but you held for like, you know, 6 years with, you know, nauseating roller coaster ride with no certainty whatsoever. There was, you know, you literally were holding it as a meme basically. But if you got in the early stages of the third wave, you know, you made almost as much as all the other people, unless you know, the people that got in like when it was cents, right? But you didn't
also,
have,
it's not even about it. It's about the scale that you could actually do it. Because I mean,
yes.
back when it was 10 cents, you couldn't make much money.
No.
I mean, I remember passing on it when it was like $1 something. I was like, this will never work. You know, but even if I did buy it, I can totally see myself selling out at least, I mean,
Totally.
almost all, but maybe at 100 or whatever, something like that.
Totally.
There is no way I would have the balls to hang on, you know, to like 100,000 X, you know?
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So anyways, my point is just third wave usually wins. So you want to be in the third wave of something. And, or if you're going to get in earlier, then you got to make sure you know, be prepared to hang in there for the third wave. You know, yeah, I got, you know, I sold everything at massive loss. I mean, I took it as a tax deduction, but I lost a ton of money like 2 years ago, you know, on all the Canadian cannabis companies and, you know, the US one, Acreage. I mean, I just got my ass handed to me. So, you know, I even Aurora, man, I rode that thing. I was up 1,500% on Aurora. And then I rode it all the way down to the point where I lost money. Like, that's hard to do. Like, it's really hard to make 1,500% and be like, nah, I'm going to just hold this. And then I just rode that thing all the way down until I was in a loss.
Oh,
like, unbelievable.
That hurts, man. That hurts.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing that you got all that Bitcoin to keep you warm at night. So what about you, Yoni? You got any cannabis investments or anything?
No, I mean, I don't really know the space. I mean, from a business perspective, so I don't really buy it.
Yeah. What I think is a trip for me, it's like, so now that, you know, I support, you know, the entrepreneur business and Noel and team, and, you know, so I'm on some of these calls and, you know, and how, again, it's kind of what I was saying before about how professional everybody, you know, and how sort of scientific and everything. And, you know, and even when you're talking about, you know, obviously marijuana, but you're talking about psilocybin and all that stuff. And they're talking about the medical uses and this and that and the other. And sometimes I just feel like, hey guys, can we break character here for a second and just talk about just getting fucked up? You know what I mean? Cause it's like, you know, cause it's like, it's a trip, you know what I mean? Cause you're having these combos about like, you know, and it's all business related stuff and science and medicine and this and that. And it's like, right.
Hey, listen, man, but don't get it twisted. You know, some of us OGs, you know, it was a lot of work to get to where we're at. And, you know, you had to put on your suit and tie to get there, right?
Yeah,
you couldn't get there, you know, being the, you know, I mean, to the point where literally in the early days, 14, 15, you know, when all the angel investment stuff started happening and there was all these startups happening, you know, basically, if you use the word weed, you were like shunned. It was like, look, dog, you're messing up the vibe. Like, don't use the word weed because, you know, like the institutions don't want to hear the word weed. They want to hear about cannabis and medical marijuana. And, you know, this is going to help seizures. And, you know, so it was like, look, you know, basically don't take off the tie until we got federal legalization.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and don't get it twisted, man. I mean, look, I think the use of medical marijuana, I mean, especially when you compare it to opioids and all the other kind of stuff. I mean, this is truly, and when you see the success that people have, like, people with serious medical conditions, cancers, children who have certain issues that can only be treated like, they're treated productively and beneficially by medical marijuana. Like, look, man, it's all, I'm just being kind of funny about it, but I mean, I'm with you 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, like, even if we were, if that was the sole only, there wasn't even a recreational slant to it. I mean, it's obviously, it's worth pursuing and it's investable and everything else. So it's all good. But I just think it's a trip when I just think about how everybody's so like buttoned up on it now, and seeing how that's gone. And, it's, we come a long way from like Grateful Dead concerts and shit like that, so it's
Yeah, look at this. Look, this is, ready, we're going to break this out. This is one of 7. Talk about an NFT, one of 7. This is the first legal cannabis cup in the United States.
Oh,
2014? Gold leaf VIP.
nice.
There was only 7 of us. I was hanging out backstage, Snoop, and the guys from Super Troopers. We were getting blazed as fuck. And then I was smoking with the drummer from the Grateful Dead, and man, it was fun. That was fun as hell. I was at the oxygen bar with tubes of oxygen up my nose. I got tubes of oxygen up my nose. I got a dab rig and the other thing. That was great. It was great. Driven around in a golf cart, like, oh, what do you need, sir? It was like, well, take me to the dab rig.
And where was that? Was that in California?
Colorado. That was the only place it was legal in the United States at that point. This is literally about 90 days after they legalized it in Colorado.
Okay, that's crazy.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The times have changed.
U.S. Cannabis Cup.
Yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, I remember reading High Times and all that back in the day.
Oh, snap. You know what this is? So I was a judge. And so this I get up on the stage and give out the award. The award I gave out was Best Vaporizer. It's like the Grammys.
Yeah.
Best Vaporizer.
710 Kingpen.
And I had to read it out. It was like, in 3rd place, we've got Incredible Milkshake Machine from the Incredible Red Eye Saloon. In 2nd place, we had the Cloud V. In 1st place, we had my boys, 710 Kingpen. And by the way, that 710, those are the guys that just did the Purple Urkel.
The Purple Urkel, yeah, I was just gonna say. So.
Right? 1st place, baby. They were already 1st place back then.
Yeah.
Now they got Purple Urkel. They're gone. You can't even catch them. They're gone.
Oh man.
See you on the moon.
I love it.
See you with the Doge.
Oh, good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Look, this is a little memorabilia from that day. Look, we got this is my boy Charlie Tuna. That's my mentor.
Charlie Tuna.
That was my let's see. Yeah, you can't really see it very well.
You can kind of see you off.
Anyways, that was my boss from when I was in the seafood business. He came out there and met me in Denver. To participate in the escapades.
I like it, man. That's what's up. Charlie Tuna. The rules of Charlie Tuna. That's up on our blog, I think. That's one of the first
blog posts that we ever made.
Yeah. So that's what's up. All right. Well, with that, guys, I think we covered a lot of ground. We did a lot of intertwining of Doge and Doja. You know what I'm saying? I think it's all good. But I think we said we were going to try to cut it after the hour, so we only have a couple more minutes and then we're going to shut it down. But anything else on this day, this righteous holy day that you guys want to?
Speaking of 420, though, by the way, I think Yoni, as of last week, I think it's legal here now for medical. I don't know how the system works, but supposedly you walk into a pharmacy. I mean, you got to have a prescription from a doctor. But you walk into a pharmacy and you can just buy it at the pharmacy, supposedly.
But I'm assuming not all pharmacies carry it right now.
I don't know yet. I assume the same. And if I had to take a guess, there's probably not a single pharmacy in the country that's got any at this point. But it's a company called Tilray, Canadian, growing it, but they're growing it here locally in Alentejo, and then I guess distributing it. I don't know how it works. I got to find out.
And are they gonna offer, I guess, different delivery methods, or is just the pure flower?
That I don't know either. Nobody seems to have an answer to that. I even asked the lawyers; they don't know. I don't know. My guess is that at first it'll just be flowers, but I don't know. If we can get vape pens, that would be amazing.
Oh man, that would be amazing. Yeah. That's the main thing I'm missing here compared to Canada.
Yeah,
I would say like maybe the only thing.
yeah, it's like totally.
Well, they'll get those
I'm
gummies.
going back, and I was like, yeah, never mind.
They'll get the but they'll have gummies. They'll have all that stuff. They'll have the tinctures, the droppers, and everything else. And but I even think but gummies and edibles. I mean, they're getting even more. Everything is getting a lot more sophisticated, which I think gets better for usability, man. I mean, I think.
Oh, for sure. You can predict how high you're gonna get or how high you want to get.
Yeah, one time I ate some edibles in Seattle, and like I was in a bad way. I was like hiding under the bed in the hotel room for a couple hours until like it was that. And I don't want to name names because I don't want to put anybody out there, but it was actually somebody.
Confessions of a lightweight.
It was actually I am, man. That's my deal. But but I'm a cheap date. You know what I mean? I spend less that way. And but it was actually somebody in the domain space who had sent a package to the office, and it was like some chocolate, whatever, and like I had no idea what was what. But it's funny, I saw a tweet, not too long ago that was like, my experience with edibles. I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. I need to go to the hospital. Because that's the thing, man. You just like, but I think as the science gets better, right, and then you can really work the dosage and the timing and even the strains and all that kind of stuff. Because even now I'm seeing gummies that are like where before it was, you had no idea what it was. At least now they're breaking them down, if not by strain, but by sativa, indica, hybrid, combined with CBD, all that kind of stuff. So it's just all good, man. All positive momentum, man. It's definitely what's up. So, but yeah. So, all right. Well, on that note, I'm going to say happy 420 to homies. I appreciate you guys as always. This was a good one. We'll go ahead and box it up and get it out online either tomorrow or Thursday for everybody. And speaking of everybody, meaning the audience, I want to thank all of y'all. As I say on the show all the time, without you, there's no us. We appreciate you taking the time to be here and kicking it with us while we just do what we do here on Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains, specifically down the rabbit hole. We definitely went down some rabbit holes today. So happy 420, everybody. Peace, and we'll see you next time on Domain Sherpa.
It don't matter what you do.